Hello to no one watching. My name is Era, and thanks for tuning in. Today we are going to talk about the books I read in June for my Pride TBR. I read 5 books, one of them bleeding over into July, but I'm only going to talk about 4 books, which are the sapphic books I read in the month of June. I got this idea from a Sunny Book Nooks. Her video, The Problem with Lesbian Romance Novels. I had been thinking about making a video before then, but after watching that video, I decided to actually go ahead and go through with it. So yeah, we will be talking about 4 books in this video. We're talking about Delilah Green Doesn't Care by Ashley Herring Blake, Iris Kelly Doesn't Date by Ashley Herring Blake, Honey and Issues Guide to Fake Dating by Aduba Jihar, and Late Bloomers by Maisie Eddings. I feel like I'm so close to the camera. So yes, that is what we're going to do today. We're going to start with Delilah Green Doesn't Care by Ashley Herring Blake. This book is about Delilah Green, who has been ostracized by her step-family as she goes back to her small town to take pictures for her stepsister's wedding. This is where she is reintroduced to Claire Sutherland, mother of one who is dealing with an unreliable ex. Over the course of Astrid's wedding week, Claire and Delilah fall in love, while Delilah tries to find her place in their friend group. I enjoyed this book. I gave this book a 4 out of 5 stars. I think that Ashley Herring Blake is an amazing writer. I think the way that she is able to put you in the mind of the character is very well done. I think she's very skillful in the way she writes. But she is a white woman. She is a white woman. She's a white woman. Spoilers ahead probably for all of these books, but right now for Delilah Green. My first issue with this book is the way that Delilah wants to be friends with her sister's friends. I just don't. I know that's it's important to the book that she wants that, because if she doesn't, then, what are we even doing here in this book? But it is, dumb. For her to, be I ran, as soon as I graduated, I ran away, and I was never going to talk to any of those people ever again. Then you come back. She comes back and she's like, but actually, what if I did want to hang out with him, though? What if I did want to hang out with him, though? And it's just so weird. I just feel like she could have taken what she's seeing of friendship, of relationships that her sister has, and made her own. I don't think she needed to be like, oh yes, and now I'm friends with Iris. Oh yes. I don't think that she needed to be implemented into the group. I think she could have found some other people if she wanted to, but that didn't happen. I think that is just me being picky. I think that's just one of those things I'm just being picky about. It is also hard for me to believe that these women are 30 and haven't had a thought ever. You can learn anything at any age at all, but you're telling me this whole time none of them ever thought about anything that happened in their life until Claire got with Delilah? It's weird. It's strange. It's just weird. What have the thoughts been if not, damn, I gotta work through this. And I think the friendship in this one is horrific. I think I have labeled it friendship under liberalism. The friendship in this book is truly dumb. It's crazy, because if Iris and Claire were real friends, they would not have waited till Astrid's wedding week to tell Astrid that her man wasn't shit. And if Iris was a real bitch, if Iris was a real friend, she would have been like, Claire, I understand that man is unreliable, but we're at a bar right now. You can't have fun for like an hour or two. You gotta, you have to leave right now and see if he's doing right. He's not a kid. Like, I just wanted, there wasn't enough realness in their friendship. There wasn't enough of them being like, I'm going to tell you exactly what I'm thinking. I'm going to tell you exactly what I'm thinking and what I think is going on with you. I need you to know this. I need you to know this because I love you. There was none of that, which is crazy, because if they're the real friends, they are the real friends they're supposed to be. How come nobody wanted to tell Astrid that her man wasn't shit? Especially if it's a quick engagement. Especially if she's not bringing him around, y'all. Girl, nip that in the bud. Like, please. They're just so afraid of crossing a line that has never even been laid out. And so that's what's so crazy, is that they're afraid to overstep, but there's nowhere for them to overstep because there has never been a line drawn anywhere. If that was the line, great, they would know where the line was, but they've never they've never even ventured out to see if there was a line. This book has it bad. And in Iris Kelly, they just get corny. But this book, I'm like, y'all really don't know how to be friends. I enjoyed this book. I related to Delilah. I understood what was going on. I understood like the ostracized kid dealing with a lot, but nobody really wanting to deal with her. I get it. I understand. I relate. But they're grown. And I fear that Claire wouldn't have been interesting if she didn't have a kid. I just don't know what. I love Claire. Claire is great. I just don't know what she's doing. Does that make sense? I just don't know what about her is necessarily different or interesting. This will tie into my theme of talking about Ashley Erin Blake, where I just feel she's afraid of lesbians. I feel she's afraid of thought. I fear that Ashley Erin Blake is fearful and afraid. And I get that so strongly in Iris Kelly. Less so in Delilah, but because like she makes Astrid gay, well, she makes Astrid bisexual, but then puts her with the butch woman, and it's like, if I just don't, that doesn't sit completely right with me. So she is like, I'm not gonna marry this man, but I will get with this butch woman who looks like a man, but is still kind of womanish. There's just so many things that like I feel could have been done better, but she just was like, I think this will be good enough. Yes, I think that Iris Kelly is a worse book than Delilah Green. I think if Delilah Green was a standalone, I think that would have been perfect. If this was the only book in the series, if this shit was just like, I'll just write this romance novel, I think this would have been great. I think this would have been delicious. Yummy, yummy, yummy. Eat them up. But because we see all of these characters over the course of 2 more books, it's not great. It's not great because they don't go anywhere. She prevents them from going anywhere. So that's my thoughts about Delilah Green. I'm sorry if this is dark. I'm filming with my actual camera now, and so I still need to figure out lighting and stuff, but bear with me as I figure it out. The next book that we're going to talk about is Iris Kelly Doesn't Date, also by Ashley Herring Blake. This is about Iris Kelly, a new romance author, trying to get out of her head enough to finish her novel. She has many hookups and failed relationships under her belt, so she's not feeling super romantic. She's kind of feeling shitty. So to try and express her creativity in a different way, she auditions for a queer adaptation of a Shakespeare play where she sees a recent hookup that did not go as planned, Stevie Scott. And Stevie has told her friends that her and Iris are dating, and Iris goes along with it for some inspiration for her novel, and in return helps Stevie learn how to hook up with people. I gave this book 4 out of 5 stars, but it rests in my heart as a 3.5. Number 1, this book is way too long. Way too long. This is almost 400 pages of a romance, which I just don't think 400-page romances need to exist unless I'm learning everything there needs to be learned about these characters. Unless I'm literally following their lives, I do not think a romance needs to be 400 pages. It just doesn't need to be. Unless it is like a book filled with smut. Unless it is me learning everything about these characters that I can, a romance does not need to be 400 pages. This book would have been shorter if Iris got her head out of her ass. If Iris realized that she was a 30-year-old woman, this book would have been way shorter. This book would have been way shorter, especially at the end. At the end, oh my god, bitch, she was dragging this out. Number 2, the premise of this is crazy. Why do I care that she's a romance author? I guess the romance author is important because of her auditioning for the play, but I feel like it wasn't that big of a deal. And also, these people, like Stevie and Iris, tried to hook up. It didn't go well. Then they fake date, but it's like, why would they not also just have sex? You know, like they were attracted to each other prior to this whole situation. There's nothing keeping them apart, I feel. And there's like, the plot of this is a little flimsy, I'll say. I'll leave it at that. The plot of this is a little flimsy, and there aren't any strong, there's a lot of elements, but none of them are as strong as Iris thinking that she sucks. So I think this book is really where you can see that Ashley Herring Blake is afraid of what lesbians really are. I feel she's clearly afraid of how like tough and resilient and like rough and like comfortable in that toughness and roughness lesbians actually are. I think she really only cares that lesbians are women, that lesbians are messy and toxic, and that they like sex, and that they don't really know how to get their life together. I think that's what she likes most about lesbians, and not actually the fact that they are lesbians. Again, spoilers for this book, probably. Iris as a character is terrible. I freaking hate Iris. I hate Iris. I don't she's just so incredibly childish, and her problems are so incredibly childish, and it's crazy because she's 30. Like, you're telling me she doesn't realize that her mom is trying to push it on her until she's 30? That's crazy. She's 30 and not embarrassed that she's still holding on to being called a slut in high school? That's crazy. I don't know if it's like kind of a proponent of her still being in the small town that she's been in for like her whole life, or if it's truly just like that is what she has been carrying and has never decided to like let go of that at any point. It makes me wonder what they were doing when they were 20. Like, all of these characters, Claire, Delilah, Astrid, Iris, like, what were they doing when they were 20? Because they're all 30 now. So what happened? What was the thought process when they were 20? Because it's not like they were leaving that stuff behind. There's no way they were like, and I'm leaving this behind in this town and never thinking about it ever again. That's not how shit works. It like literally seeps into everything you do when you're 20. It's hard not to think about when you're 20, I feel. So it's like, what were you doing? What were you thinking? And it's also crazy that none of them are like, damn, I can't believe I'm 30 and I'm still holding on to this. I kind of need to figure that out. None of them are embarrassed by holding on to this for so long. None of them are like, damn, I really need to figure that out, but this is going to be so hard. Like, there's no like, I need to figure this out. I don't know how I'm going to do it, but it needs to be done. I'm too old. Like, I'm getting to be too grown. Like, I'm literally myself. I'm the self that I'm going to be, so I need to figure out how to really step into that, or to even, like, just to work out those problems. Just baseline. But they're just like, these are all of my problems. And it's so weird. It's so weird. It's so weird. Millennial liberalism seeped its way into every character in this book and it made me sick. Yes. That is the truth. That is what happened. From putting Stevie in an RBG shirt to having a pool charity event for an LGBTQ charity. I feel this book reeked of white liberalism. It reeked of like white feminism also. It was just so corporate queer. It was so corporate queer, and it was so infuriating. It was so infuriating. Because it literally even seeped into the way that like Claire and Delilah and Astrid and her partner were interacting with Iris and interacting with Stevie and interacting with every character. Like, all of their interactions were incredibly corny, incredibly close-minded. It's like they literally got with who they needed to get with and then completely forgot that they still needed to be a friend to people. Like, they were like, well, I've completed this, so I no longer have to put energy into that part of my life. No, bitch. A friend is a friend until the day you die, bitch. So you're gonna have to be working on that this whole time. It's just so... It's so crazy for that to be, like, such a slump. Because, again... Ashley Herring Blake's writing is so good. Like, you are really in the mind of these characters. The realities are so real. The realities are so honest. And you can even see that in Stevie. Like, Stevie has so much anxiety. She probably has OCD. She's an actor. She's, like, hanging around her ex still. Her ex of 6 years. So it's like her reality is so real. It's so like damn, that's crazy. That the feelings associated with that would be insane. Like, I couldn't even imagine. It's just so, Stevie is such a good character. She's literally the only reason I finished this book. She's the only reason this book is even hot, sexy, and fly, because if this was a book just about Iris, if this was a book and Stevie was not in it, I would not have finished. I would have probably DNF'd this book because Iris was so fucking annoying. I fucking hated Iris. It's so crazy because, again, Ashley Herring Blake's writing is so good, and I think that's why you can see where it falls. You can see where this plot is, like, lumpy. You can see where Iris Kelly could have been a different character. You can see where it falls. You can literally see where Ashley Herring Blake just decides to, like, not push herself anymore, to not push her characters any farther, to not change their mind at all, to not have her characters think at all. And it's crazy. It's crazy. It's crazy because Stevie should have been non-binary. Can you see that? Stevie should have been non-binary. You can really tell she's holding herself back. It's just so upsetting. It's also upsetting that this is, like, the best lesbian bi representation we've seen in romance so far. In Sunny Books Nook's video, she talks about how a lot of books that are labeled sapphic are actually just, like, bisexual, so they're not, like, truly sapphic. They're just, like, the basis of, like, women loving women, which there's nothing wrong with that, but this is, like, all we have. This is all we have, especially in the romance genre. This is literally, Ashley Herring Blake is literally all we have in terms of true lesbian portrayal and true bisexual portrayal. And it's so upsetting that the best representation has to be white and has to state that it's white, and all of the people of color are the side characters, and that's where all the gender non-conforming people are, and that's where all the butches are, is in the side characters, in the people of color, I think, because they're too different to follow. They're too, like, their lifestyle is too weird and distant to follow. It also has to be liberal, so it has to cover all its bases to make sure everyone is coddled and feels comfortable enough to just devour this book without thinking at all. And it also has to be childish. It also has to be devoid of thought. It has to not have its characters push their thoughts any further. It has to stop at some point instead of constantly thinking and changing and working. So, yeah, that's my feeling about Ashley Herring Blake. I will not be picking up another book. I was never going to pick up Astrid Parker Doesn't Fall, because I did not care for Astrid, even though she's a Virgo like I did not care. I did not care about Astrid at all. So I won't be reading another Ashley Herring Blake, which is upsetting because, once again, her writing is really good, and I think she writes really good sex scenes. But what can even be done? What can even be done? What can even be said? So the next book we're going to talk about is something I actually really, really enjoyed, which is Hani and Ishu's Guide to Fake Dating by Abida Jigard. I don't know if I'm saying her last name right. I watched a video of her saying her own name. So I hope I'm saying it correctly, but I apologize if I'm not. So this book is about Ishu and Hani, who decide to fake date because of a lie Hani tells to her friends. And it really just follows them as they figure out their sexuality and their relationships and themselves while trying not to fall for each other. I gave this book a 4.5 out of 5. This book was so sweet. It was so cute. It was It was just it was a good book. I literally ate this book up. I literally ate every single part of this book up. It was so delicious. Yeah, it was good. I literally like I got to a part where I was like, oh my god, this is gonna be embarrassing. I have to put this book down because like I can't, I just can't, I don't want to be embarrassed right now or whatever. So I put it down, went and did something else, and then I picked it back up. I was drawn to this book. I had literally read this book in 4 days, and that was the quickest I've ever read a book in my life. Truly. So this book is just so real. It's so realistic. I think that you know that you're following children, and you know that you're following teens, right? And I think that is just such a good part of this book. I feel like sometimes YA can be either too childish or too adult and not really like get what teenagers are and how teenagers think and how they feel, and how they feel it directly impacts everything they do. This book was just so good. After watching once again, Sunny Book Notes video, I did think about this book in a slightly different way, because this is labeled as a lesbian bisexual romance, but we only see one of them truly be labeled as, and that was the bisexual. So it makes me think of like, would it have been so bad to like label issue as a lesbian? You know, why did that not happen? On the other hand, it's like, you know, how powerful is it to like label this a lesbian bisexual, only explicitly show us the bisexual being bisexual, labeling themselves as bisexual, and then giving the lesbians all the attributes of the lesbian, or like not even the attributes, but like just knowing that that character is a lesbian. And then I think like from a character standpoint, if we're writing from a character's point of view, would Issue even have known that she was a lesbian at the point at which we're following them in this book? I don't think so. Issue hadn't had any like romance in her life, and I don't even think she was even thinking that until Hani had asked her to fake date with her. So, you know, just thoughts about that portion of the book, because lesbian is literally never said. I guess lesbian is said in this book, but kind of like in a derogatory way, not like I am a lesbian, but like you are a lesbian because you like girls. If you like girls, that's fine. So yeah, thoughts. Just I'm just putting thoughts out there. I truly don't know the answer. Just, you know, critically thinking. So spoilers for this book, probably. I think that this book deals with family so incredibly well. I think it deals with it so well. It deals with like how like quickly those things, how quickly like family relationships can change as you grow, as they grow, how quickly your mindset affects your family, how quickly that happens, how quickly that seeps into the family. And truly it is Issue and her sister. I don't remember her name, but Issue and her sister, it's just so good. Like the both of them, well, Issue's sister first being like, I care about you, I want to care about you, let me care about you. I'm not a teenager anymore, I'm not a kid, I don't want to battle with you, that's not what I want my life to be. And Issue kind of being like, oh, okay. So then realizing that she can rely on her sister, and then realizing that her sister can rely on her, it was just so beautiful, and just so like, it's so like Picture X, I guess, of like when your parents are so incredibly strict and determined for you to do a specific thing they want you to do, your sibling is your lifeline, your only way out of that situation, your only like protector in that situation. And that was just so beautiful. It was so beautiful. This to say, I think they did siblings very well. I love and Hani, I think Hani is an only child, but Hani's love for her parents was truly was a beautiful thing to see. It was just so like tender and like very honest, and like you can tell that Hani like really admired her parents and really cared about what they thought and really wanted to do her best for them, and really wanted to like share her life with them, which I think was very refreshing to see, like this like very out and proud teenager go to her parents and share everything that has happened and that will happen, and like her mom and her really sitting down and like talking about what is going on, and like having that like specific moment of connection like every week. Just so sweet, so true, and in like feeling like she has to lie because she is fearful that they will think less of her and that she will be in trouble, because obviously they're her parents. But I think it's really, you know, interesting to see where that line of parent and friend is like drawn in that family, and I truly loved it. I always love when a character is in love with their parents, for better or worse, you know. But it's truly just so refreshing to see how like that love can like drive you and hit you, and like just that connection with your parent, that honesty with the parent is just so interesting, so delectable. Hani was an interesting character to follow. I think Hani was the gullible out of the two, which is fun, they're teenagers. But Hani was the gullible out of the two, and her friends sucked so bad. I hated her friends so bad. I was ready to jump in and punch them myself from the start. But you know, Hani just cares so much about her friends just because like they have been her friends forever, but she cares so much about them that she is like unable to see that they are being demeaning, and that they literally don't care about her, and that they have never cared about her and never will. And that is just it was so hard to watch Hani be like, oh yeah, they just do that sometimes, or like just be like, yeah, and I just had to say that because I just don't want to lose them as friends, and I just want them to see me as me and not as somebody else. So it's just like, honey, drop them. They suck. It also was interesting to see how much she cared about religion. I think I don't see a lot of that. I think mainly because of the tie to Christianity, but Hani was Muslim, and she was really interested in that and wanted to know more about it, but her father hadn't been going to he hadn't been going recently, so she hadn't been connected with that. So as soon as he started back going, she was like, I will be there. And I loved how her learning, being Muslim, like learning and really like stepping into those traditions and those practices, how that was separate from her learning to be herself unabashedly and learning that she can just be who she wants to be and it not matter to anyone at all, and how at the end those two things combine, and she is a queer Muslim, and it's just so beautiful to see that, like, her learning two separate things and then eventually being able to come together and that feeling right for her. Once again, so beautiful. I truly admire this book. I think this book was very good in like showing them learning things and then that what they learned being put into practice. I think, to talk about Issue right quick, I love Issue, but I also love every brooding, dark-haired academic who's a little mean. Sue me. Okay, I watched Pretty Little Liars at a formative age. Thank you very much. I love Issue because it's like her need and desire to be the better sister, to do better than her sister, to like stop getting her parents to compare her to her sister, and then her sister coming in and dropping that bomb, and seeing how her parents kind of just can stop caring about someone they've birthed, and like seeing how her dad mostly was just like, no, I've given up everything, but no one had asked him to do that. It was so interesting to see her parents in a different light as soon as her sister started doing what she wanted. And I think that was important for her character because she had been like walking on eggshells, really trying to be perfect, really trying to cause less commotion, really trying to like gain her parents' love. But in seeing her sister doing something, telling her parents something so important, and for them to completely dismiss her and completely be pissed off with her and not even try to reconcile with her, I think that was like a hit for Issue. And it was so beautiful. It was so beautiful to see, and I loved that contrast between Hani and Issue as well, where Hani was this like gullible, very like optimistic person, and how Issue was this very pessimistic person who like came into her own and kind of took her willingness to learn and turned it into something that she wanted instead of something that had to be used against her, and how Hani really came into her own and understood herself and understood what she wanted to be and what she could be, and the fact that she could do that without being told that she couldn't. This book was just so beautiful. It was so real. I love this book. It made me feel so giddy and happy. There was a moment in the book where I was like, God, they should just kiss. They should just kiss. And I don't usually feel that in books. I usually feel that in my own writing. But yeah, this book was so cute. It was so delectable. It was so delicious. This is a Thickums book, but she was cute. I loved her. I loved her, and I will continue to love her. Okay, so we're gonna go back to some shit I did not like. So the next book we're talking about is Late Bloomers by Maisie Eddings. This book is about Opal, who has just won the lottery. When she buys property in Asheville off of Facebook Marketplace, it's like a flower farm, and it turns out that the woman she bought it from shouldn't have been selling the property because Pepper has been living on the property because it belonged to her grandmother. So then they set up an agreement for Opal and Pepper to pay Opal back, so that she could get the property back. And then while Pepper and her friends try to figure out how to get money for the farm, Opal starts to take interest in Pepper. I had to DNF this book. I got 50%. I got pretty far. I got 50% of the way through this book. Got to a sex scene and knew I couldn't do another one. I had to DNF this book. I had to DNF this book. This book is incredibly corny. It is devoid of any thought ever. Like, this book is literally so bad. This is another almost 400-page romance, which, once again, no. And especially this book did not need to be this long, because nothing fucking happened in it. Okay, once again, spoilers, but I do not recommend that you read this book at all. Spoilers, this book is terrible. Okay? The portrayal of neurodivergent people in their 20s was absolutely rancid. To start out the story with Pepper, who is autistic, who states that she is autistic in the book, to start out with Pepper being like, yeah, sometimes I just can't protect myself, and that's why I have this friend here. Excuse me? That's a crazy place to start this book. That's an insane place to start this book, with a neurodivergent person feeling unapt and unable to protect themselves. If you're going to introduce that, that needs to be worked on throughout the entire book. Okay? That needs to be worked on through the entire book. Okay? And I knew it wasn't going to be, which is another reason why I DNF, because I knew these people, I knew Opal wasn't going to stop being annoying. I knew Pepper wasn't going to grow at all. I knew that their friends were still going to be kind of terrible. I knew that Opal's sisters were gonna be weird. You know, I knew that nothing was really going to progress in this book but this thing about the flower farm, but that literally wasn't important. It literally wasn't important. They had a plan, and that would be fine. Their friends were so horrific. Their friends were always telling their business. Like, Opal's sisters told Pepper about her past relationships, and then Pepper's friend told Opal about the passing of her grandmother and like how shitty her mom is. And it was just like, if my friends were telling all my business like that, I would be mad. I would be like, stop telling my business. I will tell her when I want to tell her. But all of their connection and all of their like learning about each other was through their friends, which was crazy, which was so weird. Their friends were also, like, Pepper's friends were also so weird, and I don't think that they were actually friends. If you think that friendship is about protecting people when they can't, reassess, because that is truly not what friendship is supposed to be about. It's not supposed to be this, like, it's not supposed to be about protection. It's supposed to be about care. It's supposed to be about growth. It's supposed to be about, you know, having people there. And while they were there, they continuously like downplayed Pepper's abilities, downplayed the things that Pepper went through, downplayed a lot of stuff just to console Opal for her being stupid. It was weird, it was strange. There was so much consoling, there was so much babying, because they just fully did not believe that Pepper could take care of herself, did not believe that Opal was smart enough to take care of Pepper. It was bad and weird, and I hated it. This book, I think this book mainly suffered from Charlotte, North Carolina-ism. Really truly the I'll do and take anything of it all. Because why would two people move into a house together and not tell each other about themselves? Like, why would they go in there and live together and not once be like, so we are gonna need to like sit down and talk and like kind of get to know each other, because if not, living here is gonna be weird. That never happened. That never happened, but then Opal was still like, you trying to smash. What? What? There's no way you have bought property, somebody's actually living on that property, you're kind enough to be like, you can stay here and pay me back or whatever, and I'll just kind of figure out what the fuck I'm going to do with my life. And y'all don't talk at all. Don't learn anything about each other except for the fact that you're both neurodivergent. And then are like, do you want to smash? I just don't think that happens. I have to be honest, I don't think that happens. And there's no way that, like, even if that did happen, that somebody would agree just because. Like, Pepper literally agrees just because she's never experienced it before and she's, like, semi-interested in Opal. That's literally the only reason she agrees to have sex. And it's so weird. It's just so weird. I think that Maisie Eddings just I think this could have been an interesting book, especially from, like, a neurodivergent standpoint. But I think Maisie Eddings just kind of dropped the ball. She kind of just was like, well, it doesn't really matter. It doesn't super matter. It doesn't. The plot doesn't really matter. I just want to get across that these characters are neurodivergent. Okay, they still have lives. They still have things they want to do. Like, this book was so weird. Like, it could have easily still been about neurodivergent people falling in love without it being explicitly said. First of all, there could have been plenty of moments where it's shown in the way. There are plenty of moments where it's shown in the way that Pepper thinks, it's shown in the way that Opal thinks, it's shown in the way that Pepper interacts with the world around her, it's shown in the way that Opal interacts in the world around her. It could have even been shown in the way that Pepper's mom treats her. It could have even been shown in the way that Opal's parents treat her. Like, it could have been shown. And it was. But it still had to explicitly say, I am autistic. It still had to explicitly say, I am neurodivergent. I don't really know if I have ADHD or autism or both, but I'm just going with neurodivergent. I don't think it needed to do that. I think that, if it was trying to be like, labels don't matter, it didn't need to explicitly say labels don't matter. I think that is a conclusion people can come to on their own. It could have been so interesting because it's also like two neurodivergent people move in together and not one of them is like, okay, well, let me tell you everything about myself since we're going to be living here. You're telling me that wouldn't happen? Two neurodivergent people? Sorry? It's so unrealistic. It's like, okay, we're going to be realistic with the neurodivergent, but everything else can be whatever. It can be stupid. It can be nothing. Again, everything that Opal and Pepper learned about each other were from their friends, so they never really interacted with each other in like a very deep or personal or connected way. They were always just learning something about the other, learning something about their past and being like, okay. They like barely interact. And how am I supposed to care about these people if they barely interact? How am I supposed to care about the relationship if they barely interact? Their first week of interactions was like them being like kind of not talking and like Pepper being very brooding and not really wanting to share anything about herself. So like they're them being by themselves has just been conflict. And then after Pepper's birthday, Opal's like, you want to smash because I think you're kind of cute. What? Where did that even come from? And that's why I had to DNF after the sex scene, because the talking in the sex scene was horrendous. It was so terrible. It's like Maisie was like, what if we had two people who didn't really think about themselves until someone was in between their legs? And what if the thought that they had was just like very demeaning and very stupid? Like, she literally was like, let me take all this degrading shit that people put on women and stuff it into these two characters who never really think about themselves until they're having sex, and that's when all this stuff comes out. There's a flaw there. There's a flaw there. Because why was Opal like, oh my gosh, I didn't shave my bush? When, number one, spoiler, Pepper is a virgin, so it doesn't fucking matter to her. Number two, Opal was the one who suggested having sex, and she didn't think that she would also be having sex. Like, I didn't understand, and it was weird and really weird from a female perspective. I think if this book wanted to be just plain smut, I think that it would have been a better book. If this book wanted to be about two women who just like were trying to escape their thoughts and their day-to-day lives through sex, that would have made for a much, much better book. And I think that would have been an easier book to write and a more interesting book. But instead, we got nothing. I don't know. Following Opal was extremely hard because she's extremely stupid. She's literally an idiot. She is so insanely gullible. It was sickening. It was sickening to see her. Like, I was dreading being in Opal's point of view because I knew it was going to be so stupid and so insanely dumb. She is like constantly walked over, and no one is telling her like, hey, these people don't like you. Like, they really are like not even trying to hide the fact that they're trying to get something out of you, and you're really just letting them because you think they like you or you think that you have to care about them, but you literally don't. And there was no one being like that honest with her. And I don't know if that happens. I don't know if Pepper is like, girl, get it, clock in, get it together. These people fucking suck and you cannot like them. But I had a feeling that wasn't gonna fucking happen, and that Opal was still gonna just be so caught up with these people, with her ex, with her ex's girlfriend, with everyone, and it was dumb. There was such a better way to show that she was too caring and too kind, other than her becoming Pepper's like sole like support system, and other than like her constantly compromising herself. And like, I know that her constantly compromising herself is like her whole fucking thing, right? But I think at some point Pepper needed to be like, and you don't have to compromise yourself for me. I'm not asking you to do that. And that never happened because they didn't start actually being interested in each other until 200 pages into this book. Like, there's so much exposition in the front of this book that did not need to be there. I read a review on Goodreads that was like, he was like, I blew through the first 200 pages, but maybe that was because the first 200 pages should have just been 100 pages. Like, there's just so much exposition and so much workup that goes absolutely nowhere, like completely plateaus. It's like going up, just go into a straight line. It's crazy. All this to say is that Pepper's point of view was better. I think I related to her more, and I like understood her thought process more because she was like grieving, and because she like was having a hard time understanding her own feelings. I think that was fleshed out better than Opal's like desire to be like overly kind and overly caring and kind of throw everything into everything she does. I don't even really want to talk about the sapphic-ness of this book because it really wasn't sapphic at all. These are two, like, I guess bisexual people. Opal is bisexual, but Pepper has never had a romantic interaction in her life, so she doesn't know what she's attracted to. So, you know, I don't see this as sapphic. I see this as, I don't see this as women loving women. I see this as idiot being interested in idiot, because they're both pretty dumb. And I think that honestly could have been interesting from a gender standpoint. Like, this could have still been a very queer story, and them, like, kind of like, I think, you know, the reason it felt like that is because they're both kind of detached from feminine. I feel like, I think they're both detached from that. Like, they don't really feel connected in that. So, like, props to them, you know what I mean? I think this book could have been better, and I think Maisie Eddings could have written a better book, but maybe she couldn't have. I don't know. Despite its taking place in Charlotte, because once again, no book should ever take place in Charlotte, which is really tough for me as a writer, being from there. But I think that if it was trying to get away from the Charlottisms, I think it would have been a better book. I think that it would have been a better book if it actually really cared about its characters. I think it could have been a better book. I think I could have written a better book. I think that it needed to pick a focus, and because there were so many things wrong, and it was just kind of letting these things be wrong and then just being like, but the farm though. And I think that was a tremendous knock to this book, because everything we learned about these characters ended up not even being fucking important. So then it was like, well, what are we here doing? I just think no one needed this book. No one needed this book. Charlotte didn't need this book. North Carolina didn't need this book. The people at Barnes & Noble didn't need this book. White people don't need this book. No one was begging, crying, shitting for this book to happen. Also, it's called Late Bloomers, presumably because Pepper is a virgin, but then when that is brought up midway through the book, it doesn't really fucking matter. So then I think Late Bloomer is a great title, but, you know, maybe make the plot about it. I don't know. I think Maisie Eddings could have written a better book. That somebody should have told Maisie Eddings that she didn't need to write this book. So, okay, so to wrap it all up, I need for there to be better sapphic fiction out there. I need for there to be better sapphic romances out there, especially depicting being queer, being lesbian, being bisexual in your 20s. It just needs to be better. I think that people need to stop being afraid of things being lesbian and things being queer and unabashedly queer, and start really producing shit. If you are someone who is trying to write a sapphic book, ask a lesbian. Ask a lesbian at any point of your book process. Ask a lesbian before, during, and after. Okay? And then come back to it. There's no reason any sapphic literature needs to exist without the consulting of lesbians first. There's no reason that a book about intersectionality needs to exist without asking a lesbian first. Okay? Ask a lesbian. They will tell you the truth, and you will be better for it. If anyone has watched this and has a recommendation for any good sapphic literature, please leave it in the comments below. I will be looking, because holy Christ. I know Last Night at the Telegraph Club is a very good one, and at some point I will pick that up. But so far that's the only one that I know. I truly enjoyed making this video. This is the second time I am filming this video. And this filming it this second time, it truly does feel like I have like washed these books from my senses, and I'm completely clear. I needed people to know how I was feeling about this book, and I needed people to know how I was feeling about Ashley Herring Blake, because people really devour her books and are like, oh yes, it's lesbian, it's queer, it's so good, and it's like, but there are a lot of faults in this. There are a lot of things wrong with this book. There's a lot of whiteness in this book, and that is not talked about. Yeah, so I'm feeling good. So thank you so much to no one watching this, and stay tuned.